guys, Eric here, and I'm sure that you would give an arm and a leg just to meet this man. This man is known to most of the designers, but also is known in the tech world. This guy is amazing. He is the gentleman who created the first designs on computers. And today, I'm here with the amazing, fantastic Mr. Marcus. Aaron Marcus.
Hello. Nice to meet you, Eric.
So thank you very much for having us here today. And first of all, I'd like to ask you, because you're known to many designers, but a lot of people in the tech world, they don't know much about you, and especially in my generation. Could you give a brief introduction about yourself?
Well, I'm going to cover 73 years in a few seconds. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. I was educated in physics at Princeton University and then went to art school and studied graphic design to get my master's degree, and taught at Princeton for about 9 years as well as other universities before starting my own design firm called Aaron Marcus and Associates right here in this house in 1982. I've been a graphic designer for paper and print in decades past. I've also been a photographer, cartoonist, illustrator, writer, teacher, a lot of different things in the course of the decades, but most of the time AM&A, Aaron Marcus and Associates, has been designing user interfaces or user experiences for almost every kind of platform of computer technology. I also started in 1967 programming computer graphics as a designer. I think I was the first graphic designer to work full-time with computers. And in 69 to 71, I programmed a desktop publishing system for the picture phone at AT&T. That's where I got my start. Later, I worked in a computer graphics laboratory at Princeton University and designed virtual reality landscapes. I think I was the first professional designer to design virtual realities that were kind of conceptual artworks in a three-dimensional space. I also did a lot of computer art at that time, and I've exhibited that around the world. It's in the collections of the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and other places around the world. And I left making a lot of computer art to focus on creating a design firm over the past 30 years for the most part. In the meantime, I found time to write 23 books. By the end of 2017, it'll be 30 books, and about 300 articles in various journals about the work I've been doing for the past 30 to 40 years.
So Marcus, can you recall the greatest moment in your career?
Well, I don't know if it was the greatest moment. There have been a number of great moments. I know one of the strangest was when I first applied for a job at AT&T Bell Labs. I came into an interview room not believing that anyone would want to hire me, and I told the interviewers, I don't know why you would hire me, but I did study physics and now I'm studying graphic design. Can you do anything with that? And the two interviewers looked at each other and then looked back at me, and one of them said, well, actually, we're looking for someone exactly like you. That was a pretty great moment. And that began my career in computer graphics, computer art, and working with computer technology for the next 30 to 40 years.
So Aaron, who influenced most of your work?
Well, that's another good question. As an artist, I was influenced by Michael Knoll, who was my mentor at AT&T Bell Labs in Murray Hill, New Jersey. He had done some studies of a computer-generated dancer, and he did a lot of experiments with recreating Mondrian paintings using computer graphics technology at the time. That helped to inspire my cybernetic landscape artworks in 1971 to 73, in which I placed a little dancing stick figure that would move around in a three-dimensional landscape. if you didn't look in the right direction, you might miss him or her, whatever it was, completely. So Michael was certainly an influence on my computer graphics artwork. In graphic design, I had a lot of mentors at Yale's graphic design department. I think one of the most famous was Paul Rand, who designed the IBM logo and did a lot of design work for IBM. Also, a lot of the Swiss designers of the 1960s, like Armin Hoffmann, for example, or Joseph Miller-Brockmann, were very much were inspiring to me as a way to solve design problems through typography, graphic symbolism, and layout. So I think those are some of the strongest influences that I had in the earliest decades of my career.
So one of the greatest buzzes here in Silicon Valley is Steve Jobs. And did you ever meet him? And what do you think about him?
Well, that's an interesting question also. I actually wrote to Steve Jobs in the earliest days of Apple, offering him my life. I wanted to go work at Apple, be devoted to providing all of the expertise and experience I had to what Apple was working on at the time. Unfortunately, I didn't receive a reply, but that's not too unusual. We did work with Apple several times, but I never did meet Steve Jobs or even get close to him. I did get close to Bill Gates once at a conference, but Steve Jobs was a distant entity. I knew about him, of course, and I even knew what Apple, I could guess what Apple was working on before they brought out the Macintosh, because they were asking questions about how to show, they were asking me as a consultant how to show graphics more effectively in terms of charts or information visualization. So I knew that they were working on something that would be able to have that kind of capability. Actually, we designed a graphical user interface that came out about a month before the Apple Lisa did in 1982. But Apple had much more PR, much more success in influencing the industry than our particular client at the time. Nevertheless, we've been a Macintosh office since 1985, and we have worked with a number of different groups at Apple. We even consulted on one of the Knowledge Navigator videos that were created in about 1992, I think, to explain concepts of advanced computers that Apple was thinking about for years into the future. So we've had a close relationship. It was closer in the beginning than it is now. As a matter of fact, I'm just reminded of the project where we were brought in to help guide Apple engineers in designing the Apple user interface, because they would drift from it if they were not supervised appropriately. So we even became sort of the design police for Apple product developers in the end of the 1980s. And there was an Apple conference devoted to improving the user interface of Apple, for which we did the primary research. We examined 60 applications of the time and tried to organize where the patterns of practice were going in terms of user interface design. So although I didn't have a working relationship with Steve Jobs, and we were sort of more distant in terms of different departments or groups at Apple, we've been closely connected all of the career of AIM&A with Apple's technology. And they certainly, to my mind, made things better than almost anyone else at the time.
You know, Aaron, when I was 4, my first quote that I learned was from Walt Disney, and it is, "Impossible is fun, and it just might take a little bit longer." And when I told people what I want to do, well, they said, "Son, that's pretty much impossible." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. Then it will be fun. Just it might take a little bit of time." So, yeah. And did you ever meet Walt Disney, and what's your comments on him?
Well, I never did meet Walt Disney, but I watched Disneyland from the very beginning. I watched the Mickey Mouse Club as a child. Maybe I was a member. And I saw Disneyland first only a few years after it opened in Southern California. Actually, as a child, I loved to draw cartoons, and I drew them in the Disney style. I learned how to draw Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, all the nephews, as well as other cartoonists of the time. So I was closely coupled to the Disney imagination and Disney character set for many, many, many years. And in fact, I had Walt Disney's granddaughter as an intern in my office many decades ago because she happened to be going to a local art and design school here in the area. That continued the connection. Now, I'm writing a book called Cuteness Engineering, designing adorable products and services. And we plan and hope to interview some of the Pixar or Disney designers of characters and brand management managers to learn their philosophy and their ideas about designing cute characters, cute movies, cute products, because it's a very interesting aspect of our society in general, and it's very much more important in East Asia, where Disney has just opened a new Disney World in Shanghai. So what began as a childhood fascination with the Disney characters has continued for decades and is even now coming out as a connection in my professional life.
So, what do you think about how the design of the future will go, and how do you think it will look like, and what is your opinion about it? Do you think that the future of design is going to be better, bigger, cooler, or do you think it's going to not really go up?
Well, I think the design profession is certainly going to change in terms of their tools, in terms of the media that designers use or design for. I think that there will always be two directions or styles of design. I've called them in the past the Apollonian and the Dionysian kinds of design. One is very strict and formal, the other is more exuberant and eclectic. We've had that in the graphic design field for decades, and we see it emerge in every culture, in almost every culture, in almost every design profession. People who try to stick to formal rules and limit the kinds of things that they're designing with, and others who want to play and do everything they can to break the rules, or at least to try to do something quite different. Most of my professional career in my company has been towards systems of design for complex projects. So if we're designing user interfaces or information visualization for medical systems, we can't be too playful. Or financial systems, like working for the US Federal Reserve Bank to create software prototypes of user interfaces for software that would govern all the 12,000 or 8,000 banks of the United States. There's a limit to what you can do to stretch the rules, because you really have to account for a lot of complex situations. On the other hand, we worked with Microsoft to design software for teenagers, and our designs were much crazier, much more playful, the complete opposite of what we were doing at that time for the US Federal Reserve Bank. I think there's always room for both. There are professionals who prefer one style versus another, and we will continue to have that. In addition, there'll be the growth of designing processes, not specifically products, that allow all kinds of people to do more design, more general users or customers of software-based products. And I'm hoping that by embedding design intelligence into these products, people in general will be able to create better designs by themselves without necessarily being able to or calling in professional designers to assist with a particular product or service.
So, what is your message for the world?
My message for the world would be persevere, have fun, and do good things, which means treating people well, being thoughtful and skillful in how you talk and act. As a designer, as a human being, as a friend, as a family member, I think that's my message.
So, thank you so much, Aaron, for giving us this time, and it was these were amazing learnings that you gave us, and we will see you in the next episode of Adventures of a Teen in Silicon Valley. Aaron, what do you want to do?
I want to thank you for the opportunity to wear all these hats and answer your great questions. I hope people have been informed and entertained. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. And see you in the next episode of Adventures of a Teen in Silicon Valley. Because life is a game, make your rules, play, and win. Enjoy the game! I'm just sitting here after this interview with the amazing Aaron Marcus. This guy had given us amazing knowledge, and we had a journey through knowledge and through history. And I hope that you have enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And I hope that you saw the game of hats. See you in the next episode of Adventures of a Teen in Silicon Valley.